Welcome back to Manchester United Fans Answered, where we attempt to answer Manchester United fans' most burning questions. Today we attempt to explore the Glazers' ownership of Manchester United and how the American billionaires have used one of the greatest football clubs in the world to make themselves even richer, to the detriment of the Red Devils and its fans. The Glazer family purchased Manchester United utilising a hostile takeover and a leveraged buyout, which plunged a club that had previously been without debt into £660 million worth, almost $1.2 billion at the time, between the moment Malcolm Glazer, the father of the family, purchased his first shares in the club in March 2003 and 2 years later when the family bought the club. The debt was divided between the club and Red Football, Red Football being the investment vehicle used to buy the club, although United would be responsible for paying the interest. As such, between 2006 and 2010, United paid out an average £95 million worth per year in interest. Supporters felt the club's revenue should be reinvested into the club itself, such as the stadium, academy and first team, rather than dealing with interest payments caused by the Glazer takeover. The Glazers even decided to float the club on the New York Stock Exchange in 2012, making Manchester United the first football club available on the stock market, lining the American owners' pockets even more. Despite incredible success on the field, this did not cloud the fans' judgment of the greedy style of ownership in place. A small group of Man United supporters broke away entirely and started a new club in protest, FC United of Manchester, shortly after the Glazers acquired United. Even in 2010, United supporters continued to protest after United won 3 consecutive Premier League titles and defeated Italian giants AC Milan in the Champions League first knockout round. The fans wore green and gold scarves, the colours worn when the club was first founded in 1878, as the emblem of protest. On the night of the 4-0 win against Milan, David Beckham, a club legend at United, played for the Italian club. At the end of the match, he picked up a scarf and draped it over his shoulders. Joel Glazer, watched from Florida, had a conversation that night with his PR advisor Tessin Niani, who was concerned the protest movement had a new poster boy. Niani, in his book The Glazer Gatekeeper, recalled what Glazer said next. "Remember, Tess, you're in the eye of the storm over there. Sure, some fans are angry and protesting inside Old Trafford, but from where I'm sitting, there are millions of fans who are happy the team is through to the next round. They're supporters of Manchester United too. I get that some fans don't like us, but to hate us is such a strong word. To hate us when the club has been so successful is extraordinary." However, since Sir Alex Ferguson retired in 2013, Manchester United have struggled to win any major trophies, experiencing a period of unprecedented failure. This brought significant fuel to the fire of the underlying disgust the fans have for the Glazer ownership. Protest movements have gained huge momentum in the last decade, with some achieving numbers of fans joining in which have never been seen before. The on-field performances are further irritated by some key facts about the club's financials, exposed by the financial expert Kieran O'Connor using his Twitter account Swiss Ramble Monica. O'Connor explained how the owners are the only ones in the Premier League to take dividends from a club, which has mounted to over £166 million since 2016, while United have now shelled out £743 million in interest payments since the takeover in 2005. United's gross debt remains just under £600 million. Despite all this, United's extraordinary revenues, which the Glazers would argue their commercial expertise has aided, have allowed the club to spend almost £1.5 billion since 2014. Yet the fans understand that much of the revenues has allowed the club to spend big in the transfer market, which is largely attributed to themselves and their world-famous support for the club. However, the Glazers would make their worst mistake yet in April 2021 when they announced their plans to include Manchester United in the new European Super League. The Glazers were key players in organising this new competition along with the other owners of the top British clubs such as Liverpool, Chelsea and Arsenal, with co-owner Joel Glazer being vice chairman of the Super League proposal. The backlash to the proposal was unprecedented. Each founding club's owners, who had perhaps underestimated fan power through naivety or arrogance, had grossly miscalculated. They had committed a sin that would never be forgiven for. In the statement of that now infamous Sunday night, Glazer wrote, "By bringing together the world's greatest clubs and players to play each other throughout the season, the Super League will open a new chapter for European football, ensuring world-class competition and facilities and increased financial support for the wider football pyramid." Manchester United fans, along with fans of many other clubs, turned up at the stadiums to protest and demand the Super League not go ahead. The support for this movement was widespread, with many ex-professional players and pundits slating the proposal, with the most prominent of pundits, Gary Neville, stating, "We need to wrestle back the power in this country from the clubs at the top of this league, and that includes my club," he said. "It's an absolute joke, and the time has come now for an independent regulator to stop these clubs from having a power base. Enough is enough." The outcry seemed to have its desired effect as Premier League clubs began to withdraw support for the proposal. Manchester City and Chelsea withdrew first, and United followed, officially confirming they had done so along with Tottenham, Liverpool and Arsenal at 10:55 p.m. on Tuesday the 20th, 2021. It was a victory for fans, showing that they do still have a voice. Glazer wrote an open letter to supporters the next day. "Over the past few days, we have all witnessed the great passion that football generates, and the deep loyalty our fans have for this great club," the statement read. "You made very clear your opposition to the European Super League, and we have listened. We got it wrong, and we want to show that we can put things right. This is the world's greatest football club, and we apologise unreservedly for the unrest caused during these past few days." However, this was the last straw for Man United fans, who were fed up with the Glazers treating their pride and joy as a personal cash cow, and were therefore prompted to express their anger by staging the biggest protest British football had ever seen. It was planned for the next home match against Liverpool at Old Trafford the following weekend. It all started with the United team being forced to stay in the Lowry Hotel as supporters sang, "We decide when we can play," outside the hotel. The protest officially got underway at 2 p.m, and it didn't take long for the events to take a dramatic twist as hundreds of fans broke into the stadium and stormed the pitch, eventually putting the game in doubt. The football match was eventually called off and postponed until further notice, being the first football match to not go ahead due to fan protests for the first time in Premier League and British football history. In an attempt to appease the fans, the Glazers publicly committed to involving Manchester United supporter representatives in decision-making and infrastructure meeting. However, only one meeting has reportedly taken place, with many of the supporters' requests being flat out ignored. Since these events, anti-Glazer protests have continued at home matches relentlessly, just on a smaller scale. The scale of the fans' disdain for the Glazers seemed to have finally have an effect on the American tycoons. In late November 2022, it was leaked by all major sports news sources that the Glazer family were finally exploring outside investment and a potential full sale of the club after a 17-year reign. Executive co-chairman and directors Avram Glazer and Joel Glazer stated, "As we seek to continue building on the club's history of success, the board has authorised a thorough evaluation of strategic alternatives. We will evaluate all options to ensure that we best serve our fans and that Manchester United maximises the significant growth opportunities available to the club today and in the future." Although this announcement was received by the fans with incredible relief and excitement, the fact remains that Manchester United is owned by the Glazers, and therefore the protests will likely continue until the movement's goal of removing the US businessmen from the club for good. It has been reported that the club will likely cost any potential buyers anywhere between £6 to £9 billion, with names such as Apple, Amazon, Dubai investment funds and the Qatari state being leaked as interested parties. However, it is clear that the fans' favourite choice would be Sir Jim Ratcliffe, a Manchester-born self-made billionaire who has publicly expressed his love for the club and desired to one day own it. Recent updates from credible sports news sources claim that the Glazers are aiming to secure a full sale of the club in the first quarter of 2023, meaning the time United fans have been waiting for over 17 years could occur very soon. However, the football world is known for its unpredictable nature, so of course, nothing is guaranteed. We want to hear from you and what you think about the Glazers' most recent announcement. Do you think they will sell the club? If so, who would you like to see take over this incredibly historic club? Also, we want to know how you rate the Glazers' ownership and running of the club since they took over in 2005 out of 10, and let us know in the comments below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification button so you don't miss out on joining us next time as we explore another burning Manchester United fan question.